Exit the Matrix. Hi everybody, I have a very special video today. It is an interview with my friend Billy Carson, otherwise known as 4bidden Knowledge. I have wanted to interview him for such a long time now. We finally made it happen and we had a lot of fun doing it. We cover a lot of really good topics. We go into, quantum mechanics, to astral projection, genetic modification on this planet, to the divine feminine energy rising. He's a huge supporter of women, recognizing their power. And we also go into the Anunnaki, and that part's really interesting as well. We will go into a lot of his projects that he's working on, and I learned some new things that I didn't know about Billy previously. So I hope you guys enjoy it just as much as we did. Okay, thank you so much for doing this, Billy. I to chat to you and interview you for a long time, but it just felt right the other week. I was like, you know what, it's time to do it. I just come back from the States, so I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
I'm glad to be here. I mean, we've known each other for some time now, and we've seen each other at conferences and shared content back and forth through social media and through blogging and everything else. And I'm really excited to be able to have a conversation that we can put some good information to maybe help some people out there.
Yeah, I mean, you're always traveling, and then you're always here, and you're there, and you're all over the place, and I think it's amazing, and I totally want to do that too someday. But what have you got going on right now? You said you're in Colorado?
Yeah, right now I'm in Colorado. I'm at Gaia.com. They have their corporate headquarters here in Boulder, Colorado. So I'm sitting here in my hotel right now. I've been recording the last couple of days. Just recorded a great episode with George Noory on Beyond Belief, and working on some other marketing pieces for the platform, because they gave me my own ambassador account. So I have, 4bidden Knowledge, has its own account there with my own channel, so to speak, with my own actual shows and things that I handpicked that I want my viewers to be able to see. So we were doing some customizations on that. Yeah, so it's pretty exciting stuff. And then I got to go back to the studio again in a little while to record some more.
And I know recently when I was talking to you, you mentioned that you were doing work with Damon Dash.
Yeah, an amazing, thrill ride. So basically, he had been following my 4bidden Knowledge account for a while. I didn't even know about it. Somebody told me that, Damon Dash is following 4bidden Knowledge. And I was like, really? Wow. Because I was kind of a fan of his. I mean, I know what type of a business, tycoon he was in the entertainment industry. And he's a producer, director, kind of a person who really likes to be independent like I do. So a lot of the things that he did along the lines of production and directing and all that, I was like, wow, this is the kind of stuff I want to be able to do, because I want to be able to wear all the hats. So I followed him back, and then that led to a direct message conversation. And he was like, man, I'm a big fan of yours. And I was like, whoa, like, and he was like, I'd love to have some of your content on my network. The Damon Dash Studios network. Now it's called DTV. I was like, you ain't said nothing but a thing. I'll hop on a plane tomorrow and I'll come up there and we'll shoot some videos. And he was like, come on then. So the next thing I know, I was in his house having breakfast.
That's so amazing. When you mentioned that to me, I was like, this guy, really? I had absolutely no idea that he was, into this. But you said that he's quite passionate about really getting this, out there.
Yeah, that's true. So,
and that's wonderful. And I mean, you've got quite a few. You've got different celebrities and influencers that follow your page.
Yeah.
Have you ever had the opportunity to reach out to some of those people at all?
Oh, yeah, I talked to quite a few of them. I mean, Chris Brown, I've talked to him quite a few times through direct messaging. He's sent me drawings and things, to analyze and look at. And, we've had conversations about certain things, yeah. And, luckily, he's reposted some of my content. Jaden Smith, I've, talked to him through DM and text message. He's got his cell phone. And I've even sent him to ancient sites around the world throughout his travels. His manager says, hey, he's going to be in so-and-so city. Do you know a place that he can go to see something that has to do with the Anunnaki or ancient civilizations or whatever? And I'll say, okay, go here, meet this person here, meet this person there. And I would set these meetings up for them. So that was pretty cool. And just so many famous people off the top of my head, so many NFL and NBA players and actors and actresses and The list is just like unbelievable. One of the coolest things that happened to me recently was I was sitting on my phone the other night and I was playing a Spotify playlist that has Chris Daughtry on it. He's a multi-platinum music artist. And I was playing the song and I saw a notification come across my cell phone screen. And I was like, Chris Daughtry? So I started thinking Spotify has a notification system now. Like I'm thinking maybe it's something new in the app. So I opened it up and it's an Instagram notification. He DM'd me while I was listening to his song and says, "Hey, I've been a fan of yours for a long time." And I'm like, what? Crazy.
What a synchronicity.
Yeah, synchronicity, yes. And then, he sent me one of the albums and I was just like blown away, So it's just been an amazing ride to be able to see so many famous people reach out and want to have conversations, they have to do it behind the scenes because, they have to. So in some cases to maintain that look and maintain what they're trying to do. But some of them are getting more and more bold as the day go by, and they're beginning to post a lot of my stuff and get reposted. Taraji P. Henson has reposted my content, Busta Rhymes. The list goes on. So many famous people. They're slowly but surely, getting comfortable with being conscious and letting the world know that they have a different way of thinking, which is pretty cool.
You know what? It's coming out more and more. If you look, it's sort of subtly come out. Like I know that Miguel had like the Ascension tour. If you look at the Black Eyed Peas and their latest album, it's got the pyramids flying and everything like that. Janae Aiko, a lot of her, she's talking about frequencies and everything like that. So I think that it's there. And I think it's growing and it's growing. I think that there can be a lot of crazy disinformation that can be mixed up. And, like there can be different levels and types of occultism, which are links. But I hope that it goes in a positive direction and we can get the right information out there so it doesn't get taken advantage of, in any way. But that's really exciting. And, a few years ago, I remember being in New York and I remember telling a producer, because, I sing, telling him that I was like, I only want to make conscious music. I only want to sing about these things. I think the world is ready to hear powerful messages, like their hearts are yearning for it, whether they understand it or not. I think that it's going to be coming. It's going to be coming. And I tried to encourage producers and they actually laughed at me. And one of them actually said, he looked at my IG page and he said to me, "You need to be having more pictures of you like in your bikini or something like that." And I was just sitting there like, oh my, and I was so sick of dealing with that in the industry and being an intellectual female. I'm sorry, but that is so degrading on so many levels. And also to the power that women really, really hold and that's been suppressed. It's very, eye-opening. But I stuck to my thing and I refused to work with anyone that was, doing that. I was like, this is not why I'm here. Even if it got me money and or whatever, it just wasn't worth it and it wasn't going to work out in the end because it was going to contradict my whole purpose and my own mission.
Enlightenment through entertainment is really the key. So you're already on the right path. And finding a way to utilize your talents to enlighten people with entertainment as kind of like a side effect is really the way to go. That's what Damon Dash was so excited about. And that's what we're doing, a movie called Chronicles of the Anunnaki. So we'll probably love to have something from you on there. Maybe something, maybe you'll do a single that'll be on the Anunnaki soundtrack. So we're looking, we're going to keep it as conscious as possible. And we're going to base it off of the ancient stone tablets. So those stone tablets have a little bit of everything in them. There's, action, there's murder, there's love stories. There's a combination of so much already in the tablets. And we're going to, bring that to the people. But we're also going to bring music to the people as well throughout the movie. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I'm so excited. A lot of people ask me, they go, what TV shows are you into? I don't actually watch TV at all. So I don't even have Netflix. So I know that there's some good documentaries that you can find now. And someone was telling me that they saw you on a documentary series or something like that.
Well, I'm on the Travel Channel.
There you go.
I'm on the Travel Channel. I'm on quite a few shows. I'm on the Travel Channel on 2 shows. One is called UFOs, The Untold Truth, and UFOs, The Lost Evidence. So 2 UFO shows on the same network, but they're both in season 2, and every week a new episode comes out. So I'm in 6 episodes on each one of those shows. So that's pretty exciting. And then I'm also on Gaia TV, which is Gaia.com. It's an app. It's on Roku. It's on Amazon Fire Stick now and Comcast. So many places now. But if you go in there, you'll look up Billy Carson, and if you go to the Gaia app on your smart TV or whatever, all the shows that I'm in will pop up on there. And a lot of my lectures they've licensed my lectures and put them in there now too. So some of my conferences, are actually on Gaia, which I didn't even know until somebody told me about it. And then I'm on Damon Dash Studios on the DTV app. So if you get the Damon Dash Studios app and then go to Galaxy Network, underneath there, you'll find some of my lectures, some of my interviews, and my new show, 4bidden Knowledge with Billy Carson. Episode 1 came out already, and episode 2 is coming out next week.
Okay, that I didn't know about that one, because I watched quite a lot of the series on there. Like I've watched, I think, every single episode of Cosmic Disclosure and that type of thing. You know, that's the sort of stuff I'll prioritize just for my own research and knowledge. I think I've seen most of your stuff on there, and I have watched Ancient Civilizations, which was really, really good. Deep Space, I think you...
Yeah, I'm on Deep Space season 1 and 2, and Ancient Civilizations only in season 1 of Ancient Civilizations. And I'm on 4 episodes of Beyond Belief with George Noory, 3 episodes of Buzzsaw with Sean Stone, and then my lectures and so forth. We're in there, and tonight I'm doing an interview with Regina Meredith, so I'll be on her. She has her own talk show on Gaia, so I'll be on there as well.
I love her.
Yeah,
she's one of my biggest inspirations, actually. And one day when I meet her, I'm going to tell her that. She's just phenomenal. And her own esoteric knowledge and spiritual knowledge is at such a high level, and the quality of it. So her ability to converse in interviews, it's just so well researched. It's so well rounded. And so I really respect her work. And you know what, Billy, there's not many females that are really out there doing this and that have a good foundational knowledge base that they can work from. And I really wish that changes. I think that there's a lot of female leadership that's starting to rise up, and I really encourage it, particularly on my page. I just want women to really see and really look within, because this is it's time for us now, to rise up and join in, and I want to see more women in this field being taken more seriously and just out there.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
Well, it's great to have support. Like, you have been a really phenomenal support, sharing my stuff, and I really appreciate this. And so I've always stuck up for you, and that's why we're here right now. One thing I really did want to talk about was the First Class Space Agency. Can you talk a little bit more about that, since that's kind of still new?
Yes, very new. It's a new project. It launched in 2014, actually, is when I founded the corporation in Florida. And I didn't know how big of a process it was going to be when I came up with the idea that, look, I want to start a space agency, because when you get into, I knew that space was the next thing going into the future in terms of technology and revenue, but also there were benefits to where if you get into the tech area of space and aerospace, that research and development revenue can be used to generate technology that can be used here on Earth and help people. And that was the whole process, or my thought process behind it. So, the key was to create perpetual motion generators, hydrogen generators, zero-point energy generators, as well as other types of technologies. But for the most part, the generators can be used right here on Earth. And you can take a generator to a third world country, and you can have somebody inside of, unfortunately, like a shack almost, 2 walls and a tin roof, and they can have electricity so that they can at least pump water, feed their children, cook food, and so forth and so on. At least get them to the next level. And I think that there's so many people out there during my travels that are just without electricity. Most recently, when I went to Cambodia, I was exposed to literally seeing millions of people without electricity. And it was just like mind-boggling to see this. Still in this day and age, there's people out there with no power. So my initial concept was to do that, and that's what I stuck with. I didn't realize that, legally and everything else and all the things you have to do to get it registered the proper way, were going to be that massive. But eventually I got registered and approved with NATO, registered and approved with the European Space Agency, and with NASA, which really goes through the SAMS system and the Pentagon. So I've been approved by the Pentagon. And what that means is, it doesn't mean I work for NASA or the European Space Agency, but I have the capability now of contracting with them, providing them with research and development, or maybe even if I develop something, I can a nice prototype, which we're working on right now with the European Space Agency. I can actually present that to them, and they will actually fund part of my work. You see, so I can actually use their money to fund the work, develop, and then sell it. So there's a lot of ways to make money in aerospace and tech and in the private space industry. So we're really excited about it. We have a couple of prototypes being developed right now for a perpetual motion generator and a hydrogen generator that uses a very special type of electrolysis to extract hydrogen atoms from the water and push them over into a chamber for combustion with a piston, and the only emission is steam. And we're also developing a graphene spacesuit. So almost kind of like the Black Panther look in a way. It's knife proof, it's bulletproof, and it's got metamaterials in it. Well, one version will have metamaterials, and metamaterials literally that can bend photons around the object. So if you're wearing it and you want to go into a cloaking mode, you can actually bend light around your body, and you'll have that Predator movie type look, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Can be used for different applications, obviously, military or whatever. So we have that development, a new air tank that uses crystals to collect and store oxygen versus the very cumbersome oxygen tanks that people have normally wearing. So these tanks can store 3 times the amount of oxygen with 1/3 the amount of space and weight. So we're developing that. And another one of our things on our big plate for a 15-year project we've started working on right now is a subspace communications array. And this works through quantum entanglement through a crystal technology. So crystals can quantum entangle. So I'll give you a very small, quick example. If you've got a crystal at the command center connected to the communications device, and then you send out 3 crystals and 3 separate space probes that go way out into deep space, way out there, like by Jupiter, by Neptune, and so forth, where it would take us a year to get to. Now you have a spaceship that goes out there by 2028, 2030, somebody's flying out there by Jupiter, and they want to send a message back to Earth. It could take a month to have that communication go back and forth. But if you have a subspace communications array nearby, you can send your message to that array. That array will then encode your message and piggyback a quantum entangled message back to the home crystal and be decoded back here on Earth, bypassing the speed of light, bypassing weeks and weeks of time. And you can get your message here almost instantaneously. So that's one of the things we have on our big R&D development list, and some other projects that we're doing prototypes for with 3D printers and so forth, and some funding that we have been very fortunate to get going right now. With one investor is $100 million, and the other one is for order of deep cycle batteries, which is 1 million deep cycle batteries to the government of Nigeria for $340 million. So we got a lot going on right now.
Yeah, and it'll be good for people to have, I think, an avenue that where the intention is a little bit different, maybe to some of the other corporations that and companies that are existing, because really that's what we really want at the end of the day. That's really the mission, and it is to support inventors, because I think it's so overlooked. You know what I mean? I know Nikola Tesla is like the most obvious example of something like that, but I think that he's just one of many, many other brilliant inventors and people who were into sciences that can contribute in this dimension, of this resonance on a level which would just really help humanity in so many ways. So it's good to, I think, have a support system like that through avenues like this, or with that potential.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a passion, and it's a way to help a lot of people, by utilizing private space. And some people don't understand it. Oh, he's trying to go be down with NASA. And you guys have no idea what I'm doing. They never watched the movie Robin Hood.
Well, you've got to create your own ways. It's a complicated system that we're in because it's so monopolized and so controlled in those ways. But I think we shouldn't underestimate ourselves and what our capabilities are, and also the help that we do have on a extra dimensional level as well. When our intentions are good, I think that there's a lot of benevolent help that's still out there. I did want to talk a little bit about your book. I know you said you wrote it for your mother as well. So this is personal for you in some respects. I actually, I'll just show a little picture. I have it right next to me right here. I did have the original one. As I have the original one as well, which is on my
Right.
bookshelf, which I already read a while back, which I told you. I know that you sent this out to other people as well, which I'm really grateful that you know sent it out to me, because it's broken down in a different way. I think it's dissected a little bit, so it's a little bit easier, I think, for people to understand and also reference back on. Is there something, or is there a particular aspect of the book that, or a topic within the book, that is your personal favorite, or you think is the most important to highlight from the book?
Well, there's one part that's my favorite and one that's, I think, the most important to highlight. The thing that's my favorite part of the whole book is the Halls of Amenti, where Thoth actually goes down beneath the Great Pyramid into these hidden chambers, which these chambers have been found and discovered. Now, the exact entranceway to get into the halls, the powers that be have already accessed it because they've discovered the rooms down there, but they've kept it out, from the general population. We can't get in. Well, we have been able to get down into the shaft of Osiris and everything else, which is way down deep beneath the Great Pyramid. But what really excites me about the Halls of Amenti is that they're literally talking about 32 gods, which are, really just people. And they have the capability of cloning bodies that look human but aren't human. This is like the Avatar movie in real life. You just can't make this kind of stuff up, So they're cloning these bodies. They're making these humanoid-looking bodies so that they say that they can walk amongst men, but unlike a man. They didn't take existing people and overwrite their bodies. They made their own empty sleeves and transferred their consciousness into these bodies, and they would walk amongst men and teach and learn and everything else. And some would rule, and some would be good, and some would be bad. But they did it. So to me, the most intriguing part is the fact that we now are trying to do the same exact thing in this day and age with DARPA, with the Avatar project in the military, where we transfer a soldier's consciousness into a field robot. And then the 2045 project out of Russia, where they've already transferred a monkey's mind consciousness into a computer. And now they've transferred to a robot. They did that in 2010. And now the 2045 goal is to actually transfer consciousness into an actual avatar biological sleeve, which I think they'll be able to do, because the biggest thing holding us back was storage capacity. And now that we have DNA hard drives, thanks to Microsoft inventing the first one, I've been talking about this on Forbidden Knowledge for years, for 5 years now, that DNA will be a storage medium. And so now they have that. And I think that they will definitely be able to transfer consciousness into an empty avatar body, just like the movie. So to me, that's like one of the most intriguing things, because it's like really like the ancient past and the current day merging and showing that, this is real. And I think the most important part of the entire book is the message. The overall message is that no matter where you are in life, no matter where you are consciously, no matter where you are as a civilization, or whatever, no matter what planet you're on, you have the capability as a person, as an individual, and also as a civilization, to rise above the darkness and seek the light and help people and have unconditional love for people. That's the ultimate message that Thoth left behind, and that's the only real thing that's truly the most important in the whole book, is the fact that if you exercise unconditional love, if you seek the light and use his techniques of meditation to overcome the darkness, the dark brothers, you can ascend to a higher level of civilization and maintain it. And I think that's the key thing. We keep rising and falling, and Thoth himself claims to have traveled to many planets and watched civilizations rise and fall. And I think that there's nowhere written that says that we have to keep falling. And his real, to me, the hidden message between all of this is the fact that he wants us to rise up and stay up, and that this information was left for, written back then, but left for a time frame where we exist. Because if you would just let me real quick, just read the last words of Thoth, Hermes Thrice the Great. His last words are, "Wise words, although written by my decaying hand, remain imperishable through time, imbued with the medicine of immortality by the All-Master. Be unseen and undiscovered by all those who come and go, wandering the wastelands of life. Be hidden until an older heaven births human beings who are worthy of your wisdom." So right now, we are the human beings that have been birthed under this sun that he's referencing in the book. In his last words, that we are the people that are now here to decipher and understand this message, this esoteric wisdom, to allow ourselves to break out of this mental and psychological matrix and take ourselves to the next level as a species on this planet.
ones, I think, of all, you know, those foundational principles to things. And there's so many layers upon layers to understanding this and what he's really saying. I think that we do have the choice of, I think it does rise and fall, because I think source, you know, energy expanding in itself is going to go through every possibility of every, you know, so you've got that side of an aspect of things. But, you know, we're in a reality that's being manipulated, which has been hijacked. And I think that aspect is something that we can really put into action and go, no, we can actually take back control over our own collective consciousness. It doesn't have to be manipulated in this way. And getting back into DNA, I think it really all comes down to a lot of that at the end of the day. You know, I've done research on, you know, planetary grids and even different portals and, you know, mother arc sort of, you know, portals that exist. I think that not everyone can access maybe all of them, or not, at least at the moment. I think the DNA has to be operating in a certain way or of a certain level. And so let's talk a little bit about the Anunnaki. I know that that's something that you're well affiliated with in that research. I have written certain blogs on it, and I have done quite a lot of research with a lot of other people in relation to the Anunnaki. They do say that a female was the first of us, our prototype. Now the human being itself not being the actual first, like us being a prototype of the humanoid. Can you go a little bit more into that, or what you know? I know it's a really big topic, but if you want to highlight some points.
Yeah. Well, you know, initially when the Anunnaki came here, there was an existing hominid already here. They kind of left us alone. Those were our cousins, in my personal opinion. They kind of left us alone. They were not Homo sapien sapien. They were something else. And they commenced doing all the mining and drilling and everything, and all the labor and work and the drudging of all the canals and all that. They did it all on their own without us, until the workload became extremely heavy and people started complaining. And then the Ijiji, who came down from Mars to start a war because they were pissed off because they were up there in more harsh conditions, doing a lot of work, doing a lot of labor, and they had no women, which is one of their biggest complaints, that they had no women. The conditions were extremely harsh. And when they came here, they were getting ready to go to war against Enki and Enlil, right in Africa. So what happened was Enki said, okay, I have an idea. There's an existing hominid on this planet we can, you know, genetically modify. But before they got to that point of doing that genetic modification, they commenced to doing some cloning and creating these clone type of hominids, so to speak. And they did start off with a woman because a woman has a womb, and a womb can, you know, give birth to others. One of the things that I've found in my research is that they had difficulty replicating or reproducing. It became an issue. Some were not able to reproduce the proper way. When they were able to get some that were able to reproduce, it wasn't fast enough, and there was a lot of defects and other issues. And that's when one of the Anunnaki women said, that's it, I'm going to take this baby to, you know, to term in my own womb. And that's when they took an existing hominid, took an egg out, then cleaned out some of the genetic material, added some of the Anunnaki genetic material, inserted it back into her womb. In modern science, we call that making a zygote. That's actually a real term and a real thing that we do in science right now today. And then she took it to a 10-month term and gave birth to the Adamu, which means first man. And there's a famous cylinder scroll of her holding up that baby, saying, my hands have created it. You know, so that's when Homo sapiens sapien got here. But by the time Homo sapiens sapien got here, there were already probably close to millions of people already on the planet that had been that were already being utilized by these Anunnaki beings for slave labor and so forth. You know, so we're the new kids on the block, so to speak. We just got here.
And, you know, I know that they speak of the womb itself being like this extra geometry within the female body. And then it just, for me, it excites me because I'm like, if women started to realize just their own structure and how powerful they are and how they can transmute light in their own sort of way, wow, that's just an exciting thing, you know, to look forward to, and I guess to make women more aware of their own power.
Well,
you know, for restoration and balance.
Yeah. Women have been oppressed for a specific reason. And that reason is because the men are realizing how powerful women are, and really the energy of the universe, the divine energy, is a feminine energy, it's a Sophia energy. that emanates out of the vesica piscis, which looks like a womb. I'm wearing a flower of life, and every intersection of these circles is a vesica piscis, and that is a womb, literally. So this is the face of God. I'm wearing the face of God on my, not a cross. This is the face of God. And the energy that emanates throughout the entire universe is a feminine energy. So a lot, they want to hide this from everybody. Keep women out of the church. Keep women out of the synagogue. Keep women out of this. Keep women from voting. Keep women from working. Just suppress, oppress, kill them, murder them, rape them. If you read the modern day Bible in the book of Deuteronomy, it literally says this. God is speaking, but it's not really God. We know better. It's really one of the Anunnaki gods speaking. And he tells one of the people that if you see a woman walking through a field and you choose to take her, you can rape her. But if you rape her, just keep her as your wife. So now you have stalking, you have rape, and you have abduction, and you have false imprisonment. That's 4 major charges in today's day and age, okay? And this is supposed to be the all-knowing, all-loving God, but it's really not. It's really these Anunnaki people. But that's just another point, is to keep women down and by any means necessary, so they don't realize the true power and divinity that literally emanates directly out of them.
Yes. And it's so good to hear that coming, from a man and who's not threatened by it. I love it when I talk to different men and they're so supportive of women starting to own and at least trying to understand their own power for that restoration. It's really good to have the men that support it and are not threatened by it. I really cannot stress that enough. So thank you.
No problem.
I think genetic modification, I think that's been going on for such a long time. I mean, obviously not just in the ancient times, but in modern day science, I think it's, underneath the table, I think it's been happening quite a lot to a very, very advanced level. I know that we'll focus on what's scientifically proven, but I know you and I know that there's so much more that's, how you translate that or communicate that to people who have different levels of understanding and knowledge, and you don't want to completely scare people out of the straight away, because that's not effective. That's doesn't really do anything when we work off that sort of fear-based triggering.
There's so much going on in these dark projects and these black budget projects. Some has already come out, like the fact that they put human brain cells into apes. I mean, they put human brain cells into mice, and the mice are like now way more conscious and much more intelligent. So if they've come out with that information, you can only imagine what else they've done with some of the, behind the doors cloning and, probably even trying to create hybrids of different animals or different people. Maybe even if they have been able to capture some alien craft and maybe and it passed away, maybe taking some of the DNA from that and splicing with human. There's so many things that are probably going on behind the scenes. It would be like a shop of horrors. It's really unfortunate. There's a lot of mad scientists on this planet, and as soon as we give them a little bit of ability and a little bit of power and a little bit of darkness to hide in, they go right to work.
Yeah, I think the thing that's scary is that the level of consciousness, it's not a high level of consciousness. So they don't really know what they're doing. They don't know what they're operating with. And I think that that's been modern day man's sort of biggest, in everything that they do, they sort of create things, but they don't know what they're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And that's always a reflection of their own level of consciousness, or, at least where the collective is at right now, and what's funding all of it. So I know that for example, in research, you have, you can have the researchers which are very analytical, the ones who are great journalists, they've got all of the facts, and, you've got people like Linda Mollenhauer, for example. And then you've got people, because I sort of put it into 2 different categories. And then you've got the people who are like the mystics, the people who are really accessing their multidimensional selves. Mm-hmm. And it's easy for them. Astral projection is natural. Seeing, be a little bit more of the spectrum, or interacting and seeing energy and being able to manipulate energy in certain ways. You've got those people. I kind of look for an infusion of both. Yeah. Because and I have my own clairvoyance, abilities and stuff like that. And I think you can be subject to interpretation. Yeah. Which is the thing which, can be a little bit, and I know when the military used astral projectors, right? They had psychics that they would use, but then they would have other ones who, they're more like soldiers. And
Right.
the soldiers actually turned out to be more effective because they didn't have their own, they weren't subject to that interpretation. They were just based it on solid blah blah blah, and they could, if they were blocked, if there were blocks in that, they could get past it
Right.
because they weren't emotionally affected by anything. They just used different strategies. Not saying that that's a more powerful way to operate. It's just saying,
It
it's
was
just
a
an
more pure
example of
way.
how an infusion of both is really important. But I don't agree with the certain researchers who are like, if they're into the mystics, they're all bullshit. And I think you need people who can access their multidimensional selves. These people maybe are of a certain lineage, or their DNA is a certain way. And I think that these people should be taken seriously. And that's why I always refer to Nikola Tesla, because for me, he was both. People would say he was paranormal in his presence,
Yeah.
because he had those abilities, but he was also on an intellectual level. He was just, on next level when it came to those types of
Right.
things. So do you agree with that perspective?
Oh, absolutely. You hit it right on the head. I mean, I was trained by Major Ed Dames. He's part of Project Stargate. You can look it up on Wikipedia. He's the
Mm-hmm.
person that directly trained me in remote viewing. And so you hit it right on the head, exactly what you said. They had psychics, but the psychics' results weren't as crisp and as direct as the remote viewers' results. Because remote viewing, you're more direct. As a matter of fact, the first thing you do when you pick a target, or when you're given a target, usually the target is just a number. They don't even,
Yeah.
nothing to see. You don't even know what the target is. It's completely blind. So there's no, like with psychics, they would ask a few questions and they would start generating their own concept in their mind, which kind of gets mixed in with some of their clairvoyance. But with remote viewing, you're given like a target number, and that number could be anything, anywhere in the world, in any location, in any space, and even any time. And then that target, you have to draw something called an idiom, and it's something that you squiggle on a piece of paper. And from that time that you draw that, you can't even think. If you think more than 2 seconds about the squiggle, you have to stop and start all over again, because you've already tainted the entire remote viewing process. It's a very specific, arduous process, and it's very direct. And there's a way to do it in order to get the best result, and keep out too many of your own thoughts and your own concepts and ideas, and strictly stick to what the universe is directly taking you to. So it's pretty impressive stuff. And how I became one of the top anomaly hunters in the world, and finding all of these anomalies on the Mars, Moon, and through all the NASA images and European Space Agency images, was I used to use remote viewing to find anomalies. And then I would get the images, and then I would download them, and I would go right to those anomalies that I saw, and I would just download them and to make them into images that I would then put out onto the network. But a lot of the anomalies I discovered were discovered through remote viewing. But I think it's very important to have a combination of, like you say, the hardcore evidence and facts. I like to go to science. I like to go to ancient tablets and ancient history that I can back up information. I like to go to field research and say, look, I was there in person. I did this, I did that. I talked to this person, that person. And then I can add it to different meditations that I can do, where I can see the geometric grid, that I've been doing that since I was a kid, that I can do remote viewing, that I can use, that I can understand and utilize my intuition and feel my way through this matrix, and utilize all of those things together combined to give myself the best life path and the best reality tunnel that I can create for myself and help others. And it's really important, if you can do that, you can take yourself to a whole new level. And some people are more one-sided one way, one-sided one way. You could tell that they, if they were able to combine the two together, there's so much more that you can achieve. And I've been able to literally unlock myself for creativity, unlock myself, for research and intuition and study and family and everything else. I mean, I really feel at this point, whatever I set my mind to do, I literally can achieve it, because there's so much operating already within me. If I say I want to play a guitar, I'll learn how to play guitar within a month. It doesn't matter what it is. I just feel like I can tackle it. And, so it's really a great thing to be able to have and do. And I think that if people really started to practice that, because it's something you can acquire. It doesn't mean just because you're not doing it, you don't have it.
Yeah.
You have one or you have the other. You need to start looking and researching into both and finding out how to combine those two together. People will be surprised and amazed just how really amazing the human body is, and the consciousness combination is. It's almost like trying to combine science with spirituality. Those two have to go together, and people won't realize that. Some people will be on my site going, "You're talking too much about spirituality, not enough science. You're talking about too much about science without enough spirituality." I'm like, no, it's both. They work together, hand in hand.
Yeah, and you have to experience it for yourself. And that's why I encourage people to go into not just doing their own research from an analytical perspective, but to try and, you know, to test their own psychic abilities, to grow it and to nurture those abilities, because I think that that's the direction we want to go in. It's not a taboo thing. It's not something that only some people can do. I think that there's certain DNA and that in people that allow people to maybe operate at different levels. People are at different soul evolutions, so what they're accessing might be different, but everyone has that potential. Everyone is connected to source. Everyone is a fractal of source. So there is a door that's there, and it's up to you and how far you want to go. Don't abuse it. Do not use it for power and self-service, because that is what's currently happening to the world. And why? So no one wins at the end of the day, really. No one really wins if we have that motive. But there definitely are ones, and some of the most powerful ones that I've ever interacted with, they're almost hiding, Billy. They're not, you might even not even ever imagine that person while you're walking down the street to have those abilities. There are some that have incarnated here who are harnessing extreme power. I think once you experience it, or you start tapping into things for yourself, you don't question, you don't need to go, oh, do you really believe in this stuff? It's like, I'm experiencing it. This is my reality. This is not, I'm not basing it off somebody else's work and research. And that's why your own spirituality has to be a part of it, because that's, you know what I'm saying. Do you personally feel like you are, do you associate yourself with a certain star system or something like that? Have you accessed yourself on a level where you can connect the dots? I mean, you don't have to share that, but if you want to.
I really feel like I connect with the Pleiadian star cluster, the Seven Sisters, and which is one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to do this movie called Chronicles of the Anunnaki, because I want to start off in the Pleiades, where there's a war between the Lyrians and the Sirians, a galactic war in space. And that's where I really want to start this saga. I really feel linked to that region of space for whatever reason. And a lot of the artifacts that I've collected over the years, they have this representation of the Seven Sisters of the Pleiadian star cluster on them. I mean, so many different artifacts. It's like, why are they all referencing the Pleiadian star cluster? This is really amazing stuff. And even when I was researching a lot of the anomalies on Mars, I came across a couple of anomalies that line up or align with the Pleiadian star cluster. And I think that, in my opinion, a lot of us in past lives may have originated from that star system. And based on what I've done now and research about these galactic wars, I feel like that there was a major war, and a major weapon was released in that region, which caused a lot of debris, a planet destroyer. And a lot of debris was flying around, crashing into other planets, causing a lot of people to try to evacuate. The ones that did survive were like refugees. A lot of them ended up in the Orion, and some in the Sirius. And some, I believe, crash landed on a planet named Nibiru that was orbiting a brown dwarf star that eventually got captured by our solar system and put into a very weird orbit. So that's really where I'm going with the whole movie, and that's really, how I wrote the initial script and everything else, the treatment for the movie, and everybody was like, "Wow, this is amazing." So I'm really drawn to that star system, the Pleiadian star system. I really feel that that's where a lot of us originate from, in terms of our progenitors, our original cousins, blood relatives, whatever you want to call it. And then much later, we ended up probably on a planet named Tiamat. And then once that planet got destroyed, part of that planet, a huge chunk of it swung away and became the Earth with all the organic material on it, allowing everything to reform again. And the rest of it became the asteroid belt. So it's a big story. But that's where I feel drawn to the Pleiadian.
Actually, I remember being in your lecture in LA where you showed the video of Tiamat and the asteroid belt.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I remember seeing that, seeing all about that. I think that, for people who don't know, the Pleiades, it's quite massive. It's not small. I think that not to use the word good and bad, but there are some that are self-serving, and then there are some that are not. And I think that there's different alliances between different races. And also, for people who might understand, don't don't process this in such a linear way. You got to understand that there's different dimensions and densities. There's different layers of evolution that they sort of resonance that they exist in. So I think that's what trips people out a little bit when they're trying to process information. I think they don't really maybe understand the construct of things. Not saying that we understand that completely too. We're still operating through a very, you know what I mean, so, you know, a small spectrum. But that's one thing for me I don't question anymore. I don't question multidimensional reality, and I don't question that it's all quantum. Yeah. And that it's layers upon layers. And when our sciences understand that, I think that we would really progress, because our own sciences are hindering us.
Human beings are naturally multidimensional beings. This is what a lot of people don't realize, and probably what they don't want us to know. The fact that we already are multidimensional. I saw a science documentary one time where they were showing a microscopic scan of human brain cells doing synapses. And during this, something weird happened. Some of the synapses and some of the actual molecules in the brain, some of the matter, was phasing in and out of this reality. It was disappearing. They didn't know where it was going. They were like, where is it going? And somebody said, it's going to another dimension and coming back. This is quantum mechanics and quantum physics. This is a whole weird realm, you know, that we're digging into. The deeper you look, the more crazier things get. You know, and we already are multidimensional beings. We're picking up information in these avatar vessels from another dimension. We're downloading information. The brain doesn't create consciousness, it downloads consciousness. This is something else that people don't realize as well. And we're not living in real time either. We're living in delayed time. In other words, what we think is real time is actually just an illusion. And this is to be proven by a scientific study that was done where they put people in rooms and they put on the screen different images. They put a cap on their head with sensors to send information to a computer so that they can see what the human brain electronically looks like when it sees something serene, when it sees something happy, when it sees something scary, when it sees something threatening, so they can pick up what the emotions are. Something weird happened by accident. So these images were spaced out 10 seconds apart. All of a sudden, the computer started printing out in the screen what the human brain was seeing before the next image popped up to 7 seconds in advance. So up to 7 seconds in advance, it knew what the next image was going to be. And this happened through multiple trials. And they were like, wait a minute, what does this mean? Well, it means that we're getting a download, and we're not living in true real time. Information, everything that we're experiencing in this third dimension has already happened, so to speak. Yeah. So it's pretty weird. Yeah, it's very incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, for me personally, I sometimes have visions of things and of things before they happen, about people that I'm not even close with, and you know, well, people close to me know that, and sometimes they'll come to me and go, if you see something, please tell me. But it's an example of how we're accessing it. Even in dream state, we're entering other dimensions, and we're not limited to what we're just experiencing here in a linear way. So it's there's linear, and then there's holographic, and once we go more to the holographic, I think that things will make more sense, but also for our level of understanding will still be like, wow, like, oh my God, that's you know, a lot to comprehend. Is there any particular topic that you want to talk before I let you go at all?
Well, I'm doing an Egyptian mystery school October 12th and 13th at Damon Dash Studios in Burbank, California. I'm going to be doing a very in-depth teaching on the Egyptian mysteries, stuff that I've never talked about before in lectures or online or TV or video.
Yeah.
And some information that was shared with me, and I'm going to share it with others. I've been given the approval to share it with people. And it's going to be for 2 days. It's going to be a total of 14 to 17 hours, somewhere in that range. Got a little entertainment program for them and everything else, so they can have a little bit of fun too. But it's going to be a very intimate setting. Limited seats are available, and they can register on 4biddenknowledge.com with the number 4biddenknowledge.com. And the book is doing phenomenal. It's still a bestseller right now on Amazon, which is really amazing because I only sell 1/3 of the books through Amazon. The other 2/3 I sell on my website because people want the autographed copy. So it's really, if I sold them all there, it would be probably number 1 instead of number 6. But for a limited time, I'm doing autographed copies on all of the books on Amazon as well for probably the rest of this month. So you can get the compendium of the Emerald Tablets there. And I just want to thank you for having me on here so we can sit and chat and talk and, you know, share some knowledge with the people, and hopefully this helps somebody.
Yeah, it's just so wonderful to connect with you, and I definitely want to see you at least by next year at the Conscious Life Expo. If Damon Dash is there too, it'd be lovely to meet him as well. But yeah, no, thank you so much for making the time. I really appreciate it. I told some of my followers that I'd be speaking with you, and they were really excited. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And if there is there any sort of link or anything that you want to share with people and how they can follow you? It's at 4bidden knowledge, the main, but you've got so many different.
I know, I got so many accounts. I got 130 accounts now. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, so thankfully, because Forbidden Knowledge is actually down, but the Facebook Forbidden Knowledge is still up, and all the other accounts are up right now. So you can follow me. Just Google Billy Carson Forbidden Knowledge. I'll pop up on YouTube. I'll pop up on iTunes. I'll pop up on every social media platform that you could think about. And you know, I just want to thank everybody for all the many years that they've been following and helping and sharing and everything else. And it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better.
Yes, indeed. Okay, thank you, Billy.